Hey all, it's Monday and that means it's countdown day. And today is going to be all about youthfulness. When we look at the top 10 youngest Transformers, that's going to be our focus in the latest GotBot Counts Down. Hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, man, please like, comment, share, of course, subscribe, and while you're at it, light them up, baby. Hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton to let you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, and all my social media links. All of that down in the description below. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we offer to you through Teespring. Or, of course, hit the join button right here on YouTube to become a channel member. And today we're going to be looking at youthfulness by way of the top 10 youngest Transformers. Now, a few people asked what that meant, and I left it very wide open. Of course, this was a fan-suggested topic, and of course, the results are all based on me collecting and counting up fan votes from all across social media. And this one was absolutely no different. Some people thought that it meant inexperienced in battle. Some people thought it meant those who act young. Some thought it meant those that are freshest off the assembly line. All of those are valid arguments. And however you wanted to interpret it was fine. I just count up the votes. The idea when I ask these questions is, what's the first name that pops to mind? What's your knee-jerk reaction? That's how you should be voting. Some people give me lists of like 25 or 30. It's like, that's all I can think of. There's only 10 slots, man. Why are you giving me 30? The first one or two that come to mind. Boom. Yay. Wonderful. But before we get into anything to do with this one, I have to give a couple of updates from last week's top 10. First things first. At number 10, we said, when we looked at couples, that was last week, top 10 couples, we said that number 10 was Hot Shot and the little red sports car. That was a mistake. It's actually RID 2001 Sideburn and the little red sports car. When someone had voted, the first person who voted for that said Sideburn, and for some reason thereafter I never corrected it on my tabulation sheet. And it just got through. I don't know. I have no other excuse than that. Secondly, I could not recall if Giga and Mega were brother and sister or husband and wife. They are husband and wife. So just to clarify that, they didn't actually make the list, but they are husband and wife, and they did get a push. And as another update, Conjunction Dura, which is like the Transformers version of being married, happened with Rewind and Chrome Dome, at least, as well as apparently Drift and Ratchet by the end of the comics continuity. I don't know the continuity very well at all, so I wasn't sure. So just a couple of things there that were definitely worth updating on. Okay, so we're going to kick things off with this countdown, of course, with our honorable mentions first. And we actually have 6 honorable mentions this time because 4 of them had the exact same number of votes. Coming in honorable mention wise, we have Goldbug because he would have been fresh off the assembly line. Grimlock because he, along with the other Dinobots, were created on Earth kind of after the fact. But Grimlock stood out from the Dinobots with the most votes. Energon Ironhide, he had a nice push. As did Night Scream. Beast Machine's Night Scream was nice to see. As well as Windblade and Daniel. Daniel, not a Transformer, but definitely a Transformers character. All came in as honorable mentions. I also want to give a specific shout out here to the Stunticons, the Aerial Bots, and the Technobots. People point out those 3 groups, and the Dinobots, those 4 groups. You can't vote for groups. I need individual names, but a lot of people wanted to cast votes for those 4 groups as being youngest. Look, Grimlock made the honorable mentions because he specifically had people who voted for him. So I don't tend to count groups unless I'm asking for groups. Nevertheless, I do want to throw out that a lot of people did throw support that way. So, there you go. There's the honorable mentions. We cleaned up some stuff from last week, so you know what we're going to do. That's right, we're going to kick things off with number 10 first. Okay, so here we are at number 10, and number 10 is actually going to be a tie this time around. It is Transformers Prime Smokescreen and Hot Rod, G1 Hot Rod. Now, I don't happen to have a Hot Rod handy, plus I said, you know what, let's give some of the limelight to Transformers Prime Smokescreen, because how often do we get some limelight thrown anymore on Transformers Prime? How often does Smokescreen get some limelight? It's kind of funny. There's a certain parallel here, I think, between both of these characters. Both of them are adept warriors, like they're able to hold their own in battle when it counts. Both of them are young and impetuous and youthfulness, full of energy and vigor and bravery. And while Hot Rod actually becomes Rodimus Prime and really struggles with the mantle of leadership, this guy almost became a Prime when Optimus looked to transfer the Matrix to him. So he almost became a leader and felt overwhelmed by the same thing. Youth brings exuberance and energy and enthusiasm, but when there's massive responsibility tied with it, sometimes it also brings fear and doubt. And both of these guys scored enough votes that they easily slotted themselves in at the number 10 slot. Number 9 takes us to Beast Wars and Silverbolt. A lot of people voted for Silverbolt. I found it a little bit surprising because he is kind of seen as more experienced and mature and has lived a longer life than certain other characters on that program. But a lot of people said, look, we saw him kind of get born, so to speak, on Beast Wars, plus his naivete of how he follows around Black Arachnia seems like that of someone new to the game of love and dating. And maybe there's an argument for that. I kind of didn't really see it, but the more people sort of explain both of these points over and over and over again, I was like, you know what? Maybe you're onto something. Maybe it makes sense. And because enough people thought that same way, he was able to take the number 9 slot. Number 8 is actually arguably not just young, but also confused and broken. I'm talking about Transmutate, who I'm going to present with Paleotrex here, since we know that Paleotrex is going to get a reuse as Transmutate. It's not out yet, right? But yeah, Transmutate. We know that there is a certain naivete, there's a certain confusion there. Some people say it's because Transmutate was broken and therefore confused. Some people say it was part that, but it was also youth and inexperience. Transmutate is an example of a character so young and so new to life that they had no idea. She had no clue what her true power was and just how limitless it could be with that screen. And that naivete is very childlike. The fact that she was able to befriend the evil, the somewhat sadistic Rampage and find some good there, something to like, something to trust, is like the wide open, trustful eyes of a child. And for that reason, Transmutate takes the number 8 slot. Coming in at number 7 is our one and only combiner on the list, that being Computron. Now, a bunch of people initially voted for the Technobots, and just like with the aerial bots and the Stunticons and whatnot, I said you can't vote for groups. You can vote for the combined mode if you want to cast your weight there, or for an individual character. That's up to you. A couple of people came back and kind of reworded their vote for Superion or reworded their vote for Menasor, but none of them could touch Computron and the individual Technobots. We had a couple of votes for Afterburner and Strafe, for Lightspeed and Scattershot. Special shout out to Nosecone, who had almost enough to make it on the list himself, because of course he says to Grimlock, "Are you my father?" So like right away that can tell you the youth right there. You're looking to Grimlock as your father. Computron, however, was the newest of the combiners, certainly at the time of those G1 episodes. We saw some others after that are arguably newer. He was created by the Dinobots, who, or by Grimlock, who in and of himself was created after the fact on Earth. So like, Computron was created by one that was created later already. How much more new can you get? And enough people saw those layers of newness that he was able to take the number 7 slot. Now, that being said, I want to give a special shout out to Joe Troutman, who did put a vote in for Computron after the voting had closed. It would not have changed his position on this list had that vote been counted. He would have still come in at number 7. But I hope that he's happy when he sees this to see that his vote did certainly still make the list. Coming in at number 6 is a newborn. Coming from the pages of IDW, we do have Rubble. Now, Rubble was one of very few sparks that made a new robot that came out. His life was celebrated at like the Pyramid Nikon, and like he was introduced by Senator or Orion Pax. I don't know a lot about the story. I do know that later on he forges a close relationship with Bumblebee, and that he kind of because of his exuberance and enthusiasm, gets distracted and off course, and I think he witnesses Quake extinguishing the spark of a scavenger, I can't remember who, and then Quake says, like, I can't have any witnesses, and goes after him and you know, kills the young bot, whose demise are hidden from him, I believe, or hidden from Bumblebee, if I'm not mistaken. We saw a young bot go from birth to death, right from new to the end of his cycle, before he hardly had a chance to start it. It was a rough go for Rubble, but because we actually saw him born, and because he's one of the most recent Cybertronians of any fiction to actually be born, how can you argue with the fact that he belongs on this list? Enough people remembered Rubble being born, that he was able to take the number 6 slot. And now a hush falls over the crowd. Where are we? Where are we? That's right, wait for it. We are at the halfway mark. And here at the halfway mark, we have an interesting character, an interesting choice, that being Sari Sundak, who originally we thought was just a human, and we learned that she's techno-organic and a mix of a protoform and her father's DNA, and she's held in high regard by Vector Sigma or the Allspark or whatever it is that creates Transformers in animated. I really can't recall right now. Nevertheless, whether she has enhanced abilities and robotic parts, or whether she is just an Earth kid or some mix of both, nobody can doubt that the youth, the exuberance of Sari Sundak makes her fit exponentially well on this list, and for that reason she takes the number 5 slot. Now, coming in at number 4, ironically enough, I only have one version of this character, and I didn't bother to take it out here because the version I have is really when this character is far more mature, because he did mature through his fiction. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Hotshot. Yes, not Sideburn this time. Hotshot. It's actually correct this time, unlike last week's. Hotshot, a few people voted for his like Armada version, where he was young and youthful and kind of like Armada's answer to Bumblebee or Hot Rod. But a lot more people voted for him based on his appearance in Transformers Rescue Bots Academy, where they're all kind of kids, really. I get it. Some people even said, if you look at Rescue Bots as like earlier than Unicron trilogy, so to speak, then that could be a very youthful Hotshot who becomes the Hotshot that we see in Armada, who matures as the rest of the series go on. There's an interesting argument to be made for all of that. But anyway you cut it, whether you're looking at Armada, where he is, you know, a young, vibrant, youthful warrior who is eager to please and kind of eager to prove himself, or whether you look at him as the kid that he is from Rescue Bots Academy, it's hard to deny that Hotshot deserves a spot on this list, and he solidified enough votes to seal himself in at the number 4 location. And coming in at number 3 is a character that we've mentioned in reference to other characters already on this list, that being Bumblebee. Now, I have this Bumblebee here, but a few people voted for a couple of different Bumblebees because his character really changes, we'll say. He was a youthful scout in Transformers Prime, but by the end of that series, he had matured to become a leader and kind of a grown-up, so to speak, in the follow-up series, Robots in Disguise 2015. Some people said, look at him in the B-movie. He's very youthful there, almost like a newborn animal, really. A lot of people said if you go right back to the early G1, you know, his close relationship was with Spike, who was a kid. You had a kid forging a close relationship with a kid. How can you not be all about the youth there? I tend to agree with that. B is a really interesting character because in most of his fiction he starts out young and then proves his mettle enough that he matures and grows up as his fiction goes on. Nevertheless, because he starts out young and because a lot of people remember his youthful days with fondness, he was able to secure enough votes to solidify himself at the number 3 slot. Man, I thought that number 2 was going to be number 1, but he is not. Close to it though. The voting for number 2 and number 1 was super close this time. Either one could have taken it. It's just that the character who took number 1 just eked out the win. So who's at number 2? Wheelie. How can you not have Wheelie on this countdown? Come on. Now some people said, we don't know how old Wheelie actually is. I mean, he was found on a planet by Grimlock. He could have been around for a long time. True. But Wheelie presents himself as youthful. He doesn't have a blaster. He has a slingshot. His voice is higher pitched. He hangs around with Daniel because Daniel's his buddy and his pal. The indication is that Wheelie's quite young. The indication is that Wheelie was kind of a street kid when Grimlock found him. All of that has an argument, but equally, we don't actually know. So here's an example where young is interpreted by the way a bot acts, because we actually don't have a chronological measure for his age. But enough people see Wheelie youthful and young that he was able to take enough votes to solidify himself at the number 2 slot. And that only leaves us with 1. And number 1 has one of the greatest character arcs, I think, in all of Transformers, because his character starts out very impetuous, very energetic, makes a lot of mistakes, doesn't listen to orders real well, gets himself in trouble because he thinks he knows better than those that are more experienced, and he matures and he grows up as the series goes on, and its companion series after. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Cheetor. Number 1 is Cheetor. Now, to be fair, this is my original Beast Wars Cheetor. This guy's getting a reissue soon, by the way. I think he's totally going to be worth it because this is still fantastic. I am not using my Kingdom Cheetor because he crumbled to pieces on me. What do you want? Hopefully the Netflix Wave 3 one will be better. We'll see. Nevertheless, Cheetor, as we know in Season 1 of Beast Wars, starts off and he has a lot of energy. He wants to prove himself. He's always trying to prove himself. He's always wanting to run into battle. He's always wanting to show how brave he is and how capable he is. He makes a lot of bad calls. He makes mistakes. He gets in trouble. He's a kid. But as he becomes a transmetal, he matures more. As he experiences more things, he learns along the way, and by the time we get through Beast Machines, he's really the most logical choice to lead the Maximals. He's matured that much. Optimus Primal got other things going on, man. He has transcended to be someone else. I just dropped my phone. To be something else. But Cheetor has just grown up. Nevertheless, enough people, myself included actually, I didn't even expect to think of Cheetor being this high. But you know what? When I see the story arc, when I hear people say, the mistakes that he made and the energy that he showed early on, I can't deny it. It makes perfect sense. And I agree that this guy should be in the number 1 slot. There we have it, man. 10 down to 1 once again. And we had a bunch of votes that didn't make it on the list, but were really good ones as well. Bulkhead, for example, got some votes for youthfulness. Inferno, Beast Wars Inferno specifically. A lot of the Beast Wars ones that were like protoforms that were found and then reactivated got votes. What about the baby Dinobots from, I think it was The Last Night, being Sharp T, Tops, and Terry? They all got some votes as well. RID Sideburn did get a couple of votes. Cliff Jumper got a vote or two, which sort of surprised me because I always saw Cliff as more experienced, to be honest with you. Slash, because she's the newest Dinobot, she got a couple of votes. G-Axis got some votes. I found that one interesting. Nautica got some votes. A bunch from Rescue Bots. Whirl, for example, got some votes. RID, 2001 Scourge got some votes. And let's see, who else can I throw in here? Just for interest's sake. I'm not even sure if I'm saying this right. Holly or Holy got some votes as well. From the Japanese fiction. And Transformers animated Wreck-Gar. So like there was a lot there. It was a great list. It was an interesting topic. I gotta say, I thought it was a fun one to do, and a lot of people really got into the voting with this one. There you go, 10-1. Once again, let me know where your favorites fell or if they made the list at all. I appreciate you coming by and giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon, see what we offer to you through Teespring, or of course, hit the join button right here on YouTube, baby. Become a channel member. Don't forget to also hit that subscribe button, and that somehow, some way, each and every single day, man, you do make a difference. And I look forward, baby, to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams, at the stop motion premieres, or the old fashioned way, baby, right here inside the videos.